You think you know football and all the cards the referee has in his pocket? Yellow is a caution, a warning for bad behaviour. Red means you're off. It's a simple system with two coloured cards that every fan instantly recognises. But that isn't the whole story. In recent years, referees have also pulled out white cards, green cards, and there was even an experiment with blue cards. And here's the bit that you may struggle to get your head around. While we're familiar with referees brandishing yellow and red cards as some form of punishment, some of the other cards aren't a punishment at all. One or two of them are actually the referee's way of saying, well done. So let's take a closer look at just how many different coloured cards a referee could have stuffed in their pockets. Let's start with the ones we see the most, the yellow and red cards. They were first introduced at the 1970 World Cup in Mexico and were the brainchild of English referee Ken Aston. The idea was that these immediate visual signals could overcome the language barrier between the match officials and the different national teams they were refereeing. The yellow card is a caution, a formal warning that says, do that again and you're off. A referee can show a yellow card for a reckless foul, for deliberately handling the ball, for arguing with the officials, for wasting time, or for the one thing that probably angers fans the most, a player throwing themselves to the ground and pretending they'd been shot. Simulation is the official term, diving is the shout you hear from the stands. If you're new to football, the concept of red and yellow cards is relatively easy to follow. A yellow card doesn't see you kicked out of the game, but if you're shown a second yellow card during the game, it does convert into a red and you are sent off. It means that players already on a yellow card have to watch their step, as another wayward tackle or yelling at officials in frustration could result in them seeing red. If you see the red card, it means the player is sent off and it's final. No discussion or no appeal on the day, no swapping it for a quiet word, you're gone. The player leaves the pitch and their team plays on a man short for the rest of the game. There are two ways to get there. The slow route, well, slow in most cases anyway, is to be shown two yellow cards during the game, as I've just explained. The second is the straight red, handed out for something serious enough to skip the warning entirely. It could be a dangerous studs-up challenge or violent conduct using fists, elbows or anything aimed at your opponent's head. There is also hauling somebody down when they're clean through on goal and about to score. The referee's rulebook calls it denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, but some players just can't help themselves. They know that if their opponent has got past them and is one-on-one with the keeper, there will only be one result if they decide to hack that player down. The punishments don't end on the pitch. A straight red card and two yellows leading to a red may sound the same result, player ordered off for an early bath, but they're not the same severity of crime, and the suspension that follows can be very different. In the English Premier League, a red card as the result of two yellows normally results in a one-match suspension. The player misses his team's next game. A straight red carries a bigger sentence. Again, in the case of the English Premier League, a straight red will earn you a 3-match suspension. And if you reacted in a bad way by lashing out, that suspension could be increased. The most infamous example is Eric Cantona while playing for Manchester United at Crystal Palace in January 1995. Cantona kicked out at Palace defender Richard Shaw and was shown a red card. But as he walked around the pitch back to the dressing room, he got involved in a row with a Crystal Palace fan in the crowd. Cantona launched a kung fu kick on the fan and punches were thrown. The English Football Association banned the fiery Frenchman for 8 months. Another notorious sending-off involved Paolo di Canio when he was playing for Sheffield Wednesday against Arsenal in 1988. After being shown the red card by referee Paul Alcock, Di Canio argued in Alcock's face, then decided to push the referee over in anger. The Italian was given an extended ban of 11 matches. I promised you some additional colours way beyond the traditional red and yellow cards. How about white, green or even blue? Believe me, I'm not making this up. We're about to look at some you may not have even heard of. To begin with, some of these alternative cards are not for additional punishments. They're a sign of something far more positive. In January 2023, referees in Portugal were given a third card for their collection, a white card, which does the opposite to everything we've just looked at. A white card in Portugal rewards good behaviour, fair play, or exceptional sportsmanship, basically a decent act on or even off the pitch. The first white card ever shown was flashed by referee Catarina Campos during a women's match between Sporting Lisbon and Benfica. It was awarded to the medical staff of both teams after they had rushed to help a fan who'd fallen ill at the Estadio da Luz. What do you make of that? A card being dished out not as a punishment, but as a thank you. For now, the experiment hasn't been picked up by FIFA or the International Football Association Board, but for the time being it continues to live on in Portugal. Next we move across to Italy and travel back to the 2015-16 season. In Italy's Serie B, the second tier of professional football, a scheme was introduced for referees to award green cards. This had nothing to do with work visas or travel documents. It was similar in nature to Portugal's white card, but was a virtual card awarded after a game to recognise elite sportsmanship. The cards were introduced to help present a more positive image of Italian football after several high-profile match-fixing cases. Vicenza striker Cristian Galano became the first recipient during a Serie B clash with Virtus Entella in October 2016. After Galano took a shot at goal, the referee awarded a corner, but Galano immediately spoke with the ref to say no opposition player had touched the ball and that it should be a goal kick. Italy's green card is still in use today in Serie B, but at one stage had a rival that meant something completely different. At one international tournament run by CONIFA, the global governing body for football teams not associated with FIFA, green didn't mean well done at all, it meant trouble. It was more severe than a yellow card, but unlike the red, would not leave your team a man down. A green meant that whatever you had done was serious enough for you to leave the field, but your team could replace you if they still had some substitutes available. I have to say, that's not a good choice of colour for a card dishing out a punishment. Green is broadly seen as a positive colour worldwide. So now, let me ask you, what would you do if a ref suddenly showed you a blue card? The answer is, you'd have to leave the field and spend some time in the sin bin before being allowed back on the pitch. The idea was introduced in England and Wales for the 2018-19 season and was tested at grassroots level. More serious than a yellow card, but not so bad as a red, the guilty player would have to leave the match and sit in a sin bin for 10 minutes. A player receiving 2 blues during a game, or a blue and a yellow, would find those converted to a red. In 2024, there had been plans to introduce the scheme into elite football, but widespread criticism from Premier League managers saw IFAB back down and make some small tweaks to referees' powers instead. So let's take a second to review where we're at after stepping through the colourful spectrum of referees' cards. Officially, a referee walks onto the pitch carrying 2 cards. Yellow is to warn you about your behaviour, red will remove you from the game completely. To see any of the others, the white, the green and the blue, you will need to be playing at certain lower levels and in the specific countries that have trialled the card's use. And remember, not all of the cards exist to punish you. Some are to pat you on the back. Most fans can name the 2 main colours, but now you have the inside knowledge on a few more that nearly made their way into football's elite level. The game is always evolving, but our love for the game never changes. If football is your thing, then you're in the right place, so please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.